Very frustrating to give away that equaliser at the end, but I have to say, do you really think Oxford did enough to win this game? Hello everybody and welcome back to another review of another Oxford United game. After the agony and the torture of the international break, we're finally back to League One action, and Oxford United were at home to Blackpool. Seem to say this every single week, but this one looked like another tricky game, and it certainly turned out to be that. But get your excuses in early, folks, because this is Oxford. We had an illness bug running through the camp. Not sure how many of the players were feeling it. We certainly know one key player was missing. So that's our excuse, Blackpool, and I think that you'll all be sympathetic towards it in the comments, and I think the only decent thing to do is give us a replay. Jokes aside, this is a game where Oxford led for a very long time, and you're thinking we're going to get another win under our belts, but it was Blackpool who came back and hit us with a late equaliser. It is the first draw for Oxford United in this league season. It finished Oxford United 1, Blackpool 1. We'll run over the team news. I will give a match review. I will give those all important player ratings, and I'll give my final thoughts. I will leave timestamps down below, so feel free to jump to any point on this video. But if you do, the very least you can do is hit like on this video. That helps me out a lot, and if you do like the content, then consider subscribing, because I appreciate that too. But just before we jump into it, I do just want to give thanks to a couple of supporters to the channel that gave super chats over my last couple of videos. Larry, thank you very much for giving me one for the Bristol Rovers game, and for Owen for giving me a super chat for my recent League One predictions video. Thank you to both of you. I do very much appreciate it. Owen, certainly do appreciate you giving one on the League One video. It was nice that somebody actually watched it. So let's have a look at the Oxford United team news. And the big news is, of course, that Cameron Brannigan, sick as a dog, is out with illness. He was replaced by Josh McEachran in the midfield alongside Marcus McGuane. And Oxford also reverted back to 4 at the back, playing a 4-2-3-1. Finn Stevens missing out. Greg Leigh back in at left back rather than left wing back. He can do no wrong at the moment, can the player of the month. Kieran Brown in centre-back position alongside Elliot Moore, with Sam Long right back, which meant you had Ruben Rodriguez, Billy Bowden and Stan Mills, red card rescinded, against Bristol Rovers up front, well, in behind Mark Harris up front. Critchley Seasiders climbed to 7th in League One after a very impressive 3-0 win over Stevenage last weekend. Look, in the early part of the season, it was goals that were the real problem for the Tangerines, but since they brought in Jordan Rhodes, he's been the answer to all of their prayers in that department. 7 goals so far for the season, and as we know, I haven't said it yet, but he did get the equaliser in this one as well. Ex-Oxford United player as well. How could you do it to us, Jordan? Young striker Kouassi, who partners Rose up top today, has also added a freshness to this Seasiders front line, but their main area of attack is down the wings, and the likes of Hamilton and Dale in the wing-back role will try and get forward and provide a lot of dangerous crosses into the box. That is where they are at their most dangerous. In team news for them today, the most notable absentee is Oliver Norburn, their skipper, who misses out today. And another guy not on the team sheet that you may remember, Oxford fans, is Kyle Joseph, on loan with us last season. Did a great job, but he, unfortunately, well, maybe fortunately for Oxford this time, is out injured. Moving on to the match now. This was a decent game, but nothing of note really happened. It was two sides who were very combative. Oxford enjoying the lion's share of possession in this game early doors. But as I said, both sides really struggled to create anything meaningful going forward. Oxford were quite tidy in possession and dominated the lion's share of possession in the first half, and actually were a lot more direct at times than I've seen in recent weeks as well. And that actually nearly proved dividends a couple of times. A good ball from James Beadle nearly got Harris in behind, and there was a few occasions where Rodriguez won some decent free kicks in some decent areas. Again, also some good pressing from Oxford United after 20 minutes. Saw Grimshaw pressed by Harris, and Grimshaw could only kick the ball forward straight to an Oxford player, but that Oxford player, forget who it was. It might have been Rodriguez, it might have been Bowden, couldn't get the ball under control, and the chance kind of fizzled out. But we were waiting for something meaningful. When Blackpool were in possession, they were trying to hit the ball out to the wings as quickly as they can to get the likes of Hamilton and Dale in possession. And when they were running at Leigh or at Long, they did look dangerous. And they did put a couple of good balls into the box, which were easily enough cleared for Oxford United. But we had to really wait until the half an hour mark until we got the first shot on target. There's a couple of times where Oxford got into good areas. Harris with a scuffed shot after some good work where he won the ball back high. Greg Leigh got into a good position but produced a full cross. But it was a Josh McEachran free kick. Sort of low trajectory, skimmed across the goal, all the way across. Greg Leigh at the back post. Of course it was Greg Leigh. He can do no wrong at the moment, but his header was very easily saved by Grimshaw. But that was a kind of a warning shot across the bows, because only 4 minutes later Oxford took the lead. And of course it was Greg Leigh who scored his 5th goal of the season. He is in the goal-scoring form of his life. And this was a wonderful team goal. My words will not do it justice. This is one you should definitely go and look up on the highlights box. And kept this ball in really tight areas and moved it around really smartly. It actually came out to Stevens on the right-hand side. He put a good ball in. It just went over Harris, but Greg Leigh was arriving, lurking behind Harris, and he was able to tuck it away. Yeah, good movement by Oxford all around, particularly by Sam Long, who made an excellent dummy run, which gave Stevens the space to put the cross in. The confidence of Oxford improved as the half went on, and they did, as I said, it just chances were at a premium. Blackpool didn't have a single shot on target or on goal in the first half. I did think the likes of Ruben Rodriguez and Marcus McGuane in particular were very good in possession, very composed touches and some real signs of quality from Rodriguez. So half-time, 1-0 Oxford United, all going pretty well from an Oxford United point of view. Again, it was a decent game without too many goal-scoring chances. You could see both sides' preferred methods and their preferred routes to goal, if you like. Blackpool, as I say, trying to hit that wide ball, trying to get the width into the game as often as they can. They just didn't really get it to work in the first half. Couldn't really get Rhodes or Kouassi into the game. Beadle not really having a chance to save. And Oxford just controlling the game through possession, and then all of a sudden trying to hit a long ball themselves to try and sort of open up a little bit of space. It was tight. It was very congested, and it was very close. And you feel in these games, we've seen it before, that a second goal was going to be needed, or otherwise it's going to be squeaky bum times. But at the moment, at half-time, Oxford winning, and Greg Leigh with another goal, everything he touches turns to magic. First 5 minutes of the second half, Oxford started much the brighter side, and again another long, lengthy spell of possession where they were probing from left to right. Again, it went to Mills, and again Mills put in a good cross, but it didn't. This time, it sort of didn't quite fall right for Leigh, didn't quite fall right to Harris, and ended up in the arms of Grimshaw. These are the sort of chances that Harris is just begging that fall to him because he desperately needs a goal. Blackpool were coming into the game more and more, and started to create chances, started to look more and threatening from those wide areas, and also started to create chances for Jordan Rhodes through the middle. It was actually kind of just a speculative lobbed ball forward, and Jordan Rhodes did get half a yard on the defenders, didn't have the pace to run in behind, so he decided to lob James Beadle, but James Beadle at 8'8" is not an easy keeper to lob, and it was easy for him to save. With Blackpool getting into the ascendancy, and then both sides made a couple of substitutions, and Oxford actually went back to a 3-5-2 after that to kind of match Blackpool up a bit. But yeah, I'm not sure that kind of worked, and Blackpool kind of got up more of a head of steam, and I have to say Blackpool's subs were much more impactful in this game than Oxford's. It was a little bit scrappy in the middle of this half, but then, as I say, the more and more it went on, the more and more Blackpool started to crank up the pressure. First, it was Lavery who got his head on a cross for the first time today, a striker with a meaningful header on goal after 66 minutes. He had a good game when he came on. This was actually a decent chance, and he should have done better, but he headed it over the bar. Then from a corner, Husbands around the back had Beadle scrambling, but his header went just wide. In between that, Oxford did have a little bit of a moment where we thought we might be in. On the break, Josh McEachran with a lovely ball out to Finn Stevens, who was in tons of space. He actually played a great ball back to the arriving Ruben Rodriguez, but maybe just a touch over hit, and Rodriguez couldn't hit it first time, had to take a touch. Unfortunately, it was a heavy touch, and the chance kind of fizzled away. But it was a game of ifs, buts, and maybes in the final third for again, as this game went on. Both sides knocking it around quite nicely, but just that final ball, that final pass, that final shot just was not happening. And you're just thinking, can Oxford ease this game out? But it did become more and more a trial by crosses, but not in a Stevenage way where they just bomb it in from anywhere. This was well worked play and getting crosses in from good angles. But Elliot Moore, Sam Long and Kieran Brown were standing up to it excellently well, and I remember Elliot Moore making one or two last-ditch really fantastic headers away to clear the dangers, but it was ramping up, as I kept saying, and then you started to get a couple of mistakes creeping in there. Beadle and Moore nearly making a mess of a through ball, and actually Lavery did really well to nick it ahead of Beadle. Beadle was lucky not to bring Lavery down. In all of that would have been a Stonewall penalty, but Lavery was able to get to the ball, put it back across. Rhodes was there, but the angle was just a little bit too acute and he couldn't get anything meaningful on target. But 2 minutes later, wow, how did Oxford not concede? How did Blackpool not score? Brought Jordan Rhodes missed an absolute sitter again. A lucky moment for James Beadle. He's come to catch across. Lavery has beat him again, this time in the air. He gets his head to the ball, then complained he should have had a penalty because Beadle, he thought he was fouled by James Beadle. But in all of that, the ball's just gone across to Jordan Rhodes. He's on the 6-yard line. There's some Oxford players on the box. But you just think he's just got to tap it in. Tap it in. Inconceivably, inexplicably, he puts it over the bar. And you started to think we're going to get away with it, but those chances kept coming. This time it was a great through ball by another substitute, Dembele, who got Rhodes in behind, but this time Beadle did come out to make a really good save. Really smart save by James Beadle here to deny Jordan Rhodes. But you can't keep giving Jordan Rhodes chances. And in the 92nd minute, Blackpool get their goal. They get their deserved equaliser, I must say. Third, fourth, fifth time lucky for Jordan Rhodes. Let's say third time lucky. Again, it was nice play by Blackpool. A raking ball from left to right. And Dale is on the right-hand side. And he just plays a first-time header across goal. Deft touch. Not sure how much he meant it, but it was unbelievably well executed because it dropped perfectly between Beadle, between Brown and between Elliot Moore, and Jordan Rhodes was right there to just nod it into the goal. This time, no mistake from Rhodes. Blackpool get the equaliser. Annoying from an Oxford United point of view, but I have to say I was still a bit nervous that they might go on and win the game at this because they were really pushing Oxford United back. Oxford got a couple of lucky refereeing decisions in injury time. I know you Blackpool fans will think the ref was against you all afternoon, but I certainly think we got a couple of favourable free kicks which curbed the momentum. There was one late surge from Oxford where again Finn Stevens got a decent ball into the box with O'Donker lurking. Blackpool headed it away. That was all she wrote, folks. Game over. Start the car. We'll take a draw for the first time this season. We'll get to what my final thoughts are. Everyone breathe, because it's time for the player ratings. Starting with James Beadle in goal. James Beadle gets a 6 for me. I thought it was a sloppy second half. He had nothing to do in the first half. I don't think even his kicking was that great today. And he did make one excellent save to deny Rhodes, but a couple of errors in there. Unlike him, only gets a 6 out of 10. But I do think the defence played quite well. Sam Long gets a 7. I thought he defended very well up against either CJ Hamilton or Dale and switched well from right back to centre back. I don't think there was any fault for him on the goal. Kieran Brown, again, I thought he defended really well. Everything that came up to him, up against Rhodes or up against Kouassi, he dealt with it really well. He gets a 7. Elliot Moore, I thought another very good performance from Elliot Moore in the heart of that defence, and he gets a 7 out of 10 as well. Greg Leigh, I would actually say Greg Leigh didn't have the greatest of games. He scored a goal. He's in great goal-scoring form at the moment, but I don't think he got forward enough. I thought his defensive work was pretty decent though, and he's still a very athletic defender and adds a lot to us defending balls into the box because he's very, very good in the air. And yeah, I thought he was decent, but maybe not the lofty heights of what we've seen, but he still gets a 7 out of 10. Marcus McGuane gets his usual 7 out of 10, very composed on the ball, not quite as good in the second half, but Oxford were really penned back and I wouldn't say really his fault for not driving the game forward, but I certainly think he was very, very good in the first half. I still want to see a little bit more from him in that final third, but he's definitely got a good command, a good presence on the ball, and very, very good at picking up the ball in difficult situations. And Josh McEachran gets a 7 as well. I don't think he started the game very well, and I actually thought after like half an hour he looked a little bit short of game time and a little bit like a step behind everyone else, but he got better as the game went on. I thought maybe the fact that we didn't have Ocean Smith or the fact we didn't have Brannigan meant he had to play 90, and maybe he tired a little bit at the end, and maybe that didn't help with Blackpool kind of piling on the pressure. But I thought he did a decent job, and I thought he, at times his touches were of a very high level, and he gets a 7 out of 10. Ruben Rodriguez gets an 8. I thought he was superb, particularly in the first half, and I thought all the good things Oxford did invariably came through him. I thought he had a real touch of class on the ball, and there was a couple of times where just very, very close from doing something brilliant and turning that into a meaningful chance for Oxford United. But I thought that he is looking a lot more confident now, and even picking up the ball deep in our own half and be able to drive with the ball out from the back. And the more and more he plays, the better he looks, and that's exciting for Oxford United, and he gets an 8 out of 10. Billy Bowden gets a 7. I thought he had a good game as well, and I was a little bit surprised he came on after an hour. I thought he was very composed on the ball, picks up good pockets of space. His movement is so good for bringing other players into the game. And I thought he was pretty good. I thought he could have stayed on a little bit longer. Mark Harris, I feel sorry for Harris. He gets a 6. We're not creating any chances for him, and he's working hard up there. He is working hard, and he's trying to get in behind when we're playing balls in behind, but it's just not falling for him at the moment. He needs a goal, but Oxford aren't really creating anything clear-cut for him, and therefore I struggle to give him a higher grade than a 6. Stan Mills gets a 7. I thought he was quite cold in the first half, but he did put a good ball in for the goal. He put a good ball in at the start of the second half, and he gets a 7 mainly for the assist. But I just would have liked to have seen him getting and using his pace a bit more today. I didn't see Oxford utilising the pace of their players today, either Leigh or either Mills or Murphy when he came on late in the game. I think he got a bit of cramp, and he came on just after the hour. He gets a 7 out of 10. Moving on to the subs, Tyler Goodrum gets a 6. I don't think he impacted the game that well when he came on. Not always his fault, but you are expecting him to show a little bit more composure. There was one good chance for Oxford had one good chance he had to counter-attack. He kind of made a bit of a mess of it, but just a 6 for Tyler. Finn Stevens gets a 6 as well. I thought he got forward into a couple of good areas in this game. It didn't impact it a huge amount, so he only gets a 6 out of 10. Josh Murphy came on after 81 minutes. He doesn't get a grade, but he didn't really get into the game too much. Oxford didn't really get him the ball so he could really run and get Blackpool stretched. And Gatlin O'Donker doesn't get a grade either, but I must admit, I didn't think he looked that good when he came on. He looked laboured and, dare I say, a little bit lazy to do the pressing that you saw Mark Harris do so well. And overall, we come to the gaffer, and it's tough to give Liam Manning a grade here. I'm going to give him a 7. I think he was hamstrung by the side he could pick. You don't know how ill some of those players were who started. Obviously, you didn't have Brannigan today. And I think that he was a little bit hamstrung by players going down with a lot of cramp in the game. He made the decision to bring Bowden off. And then a couple of minutes later, he has to bring Stevens off, which I'm guessing wasn't a tactical decision made before the game. It was something to do with cramp and fitness and whatever. So that kind of meant that he's kind of blowing a sub at the wrong time. And Oxford really could have done with a bit more strength in that middle of the park as the game went on. We really just ran out of legs a little bit there. So that's a little bit disappointing that the substitutions didn't come on and impact the game. But I do think that I'm not really going to give Manning too much criticism for that. He tried to change it to match Blackpool up, but that didn't work too well. And I think you just have to give credit to Blackpool. They just came into this game really well in the second half, and Oxford just struggled to deal with it. But hopefully that's a lesson learned. But in this occasion, he doesn't get the lofty grade of a 9 or something. He has to make do with the shameful 7. So a game of if, buts and maybes as I look to my final thoughts. But ultimately, you have to say Oxford guilty of not killing this game off, not finding a way to get a second goal. It just invited more and more pressure on from Blackpool, and in the end, Blackpool take a, my opinion, deserved point away from the Kassam Stadium. Blackpool fans, if you've got to this point of the video, thank you very much for staying with me, and I would very much appreciate your views on the season, your views on the game. I thought that you had a clear plan today to get the ball wide as quickly as you could and to try and get Hamilton, to try and get Dale running at this Oxford backline. I thought it was good, but I thought that your substitutions were the ones that made a real impact in this game, and when you were trying to get the ball into Jordan Rhodes more, that's when Oxford felt really stretched. You kept going, you kept fighting, and you kept battling, and as I said, I kept saying it a few times, I think you deserved a point in this game. And from an Oxford United point of view, frustrating, because obviously Portsmouth got a late winner as well, so that pushes them clear of us. But we're still in a good place, still second in the table. It's still not a defeat. It's it's going to feel like a little bit of a kick in the teeth because we conceded the goal very late. But I would say overall, Oxford, whilst they controlled possession for large periods, we didn't create a lot of clear-cut goal-scoring chances in this one. I don't think we utilised the width and the pace that we had in our side, and I think that in the second half you saw that the lads ran out of steam a little bit, and I was disappointed with the way the subs didn't impact the game. As I say, you have to give them a little bit of a pass because you don't know if some of these players were suffering from illness, which might have hampered how much fitness they had going into this one. You just can't always expect to just kind of scramble and hang on these games and get away with it. And today we didn't. And it's something that we have to learn to go on and be more clinical and kill these games off. We move on to Wigan on Tuesday night. That'll be an interesting game. It's a Wigan side that's struggling a little bit down the table. Will we go there and put in a kind of performance where we're on the front foot and take the game to them? I'm looking forward to see it. We're looking forward to see if we do get Brannigan back. There's a lot of games in a short space of time, and Oxford have to just kind of keep picking up points, keep picking up wins. Look, wasn't a win today, so let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you're disappointed, or let me know if you share my opinions on the game, or how you thought it, maybe I was wrong, or something you thought differently. A lot of games in a short space of time, so hopefully we can get back to winning ways against Wigan on Tuesday night. I'll do a review for it. If the game has like 85, 100 minutes of injury time and drags on, the review might not come out till Wednesday morning, but I'll do my best to get it out on Tuesday evening. But thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'll be back very soon.